Welcome back, kids. Mr. Monday again with another music lesson. Today, we're going to be learning about melody. And melody is the tune of a song. What that means is when you're listening to music and you hear a tune, that's what the melody is. Sometimes we get a song stuck in our head. Maybe it's one of your favorites and you can hear it over and over and over again, and maybe you go away singing it. That's the tune, and that's what melody means. So in music, melodies are made of pitches. I'm not talking about baseball. There's also pitches in music, and it means high and low. Kind of like in baseball, when a pitcher throws a ball and he can throw it high or low. Well, in music, the pitches can also be high or low. So let's take a look at that. Here, I've got a little bell set, and each one of these bars is a different pitch. The ones up here are smaller, so they're going to be higher, and the ones down here are bigger, so they're going to be lower. Let's take a listen. You see how I got higher as I went up? And if I go down, the pitches are going to get lower, like this. So this is our whole set of pitches. And to make a melody, what we can do is we can mix these pitches up in different ways and make any tune that you could dream of. So I'll just make one up. Isn't that pretty? And you can do that with any song. I'll play a song that maybe you'll recognize, and it uses this pitch, jumps up to here, and then comes back down. Take a listen and see if you can recognize this melody. Were you thinking Twinkle Twinkle? Well, you're right. It started down here, went up, and then came back down. So you can make any song you want using these different pitches. So in music, our pitches have names, and they're named with letters. The first 7 letters of the alphabet, actually, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. We call that the musical alphabet. It's kind of hard to see on these bells, but if I bring them up a little closer, you might even be able to see the letter names on the bottom. This one's C, D, E, F, G, and then it starts over, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Those are all of our pitches named with letters. In our first lesson, we talked about the staff. And the staff means the lines and spaces that we put our notes on. Kind of like when you're doing an assignment, you've got notebook paper and you use those lines to write your words and sentences on. Well, in music, we got to have a staff. Otherwise, our notes will be all over the place and we won't know what they are. So the staff are these lines and the spaces between the lines. Each one of those spots is going to be a different pitch. So let me show you. The notes on the lines are E, G, B, D, and F. And you can tell they're on the line because the line goes right through the middle of the note. So these are E, G, B, D, F. The notes on the spaces are between the lines on that space in between. And they are F, A, C, and E. So I'm going to give you a really easy way to remember the names of these pitches. For the notes on the lines, I always say, every good boy does fine. That doesn't really mean anything or make a lot of sense, but it's easy to remember, and it starts with the letters E, G, B, D, and F. You see that? So I always say, every good boy does fine on the lines. And that helps me remember. If I ever see a note on one of these lines, I can easily just go, every good boy does fine, and figure out if it's E, G, B, D, or F. For the notes on the spaces, they spell a word, F-A-C-E. What does that spell? Face, exactly. So F-A-C-E spells face, and I always remember space spells face. So if you ever see a note on a space and you want to figure out what it is, you just go F-A-C-E, and you'll easily be able to figure that out. So those are your line notes, and those are the space notes. And if we put them all together, it looks like this. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We could keep on going with higher notes or lower notes, but this is our set. We call that set the scale, okay? So whenever we want to make a melody, we use these pitches, and we can mix them up in any sort of way to make any kind of melody that you could imagine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to play a little musical alphabet game. So I want you to try to figure out how many words you can spell just using these letters right here. So let's try to think of a few. There's my marker. So can you think of a word you can spell just using these letters? Let's try an easy one. How about bag? B-A-G. We can spell that, but you can only use these letters. Okay, so I'll write it right here. B-A-G. Now I want to see if you can find where these notes go on the staff. Well, B, is it a line note or a space note? That's what you have to figure out first. Well, let's see. Every good boy does fine. F-A-C-E. The B is right here on that middle line. So when we put it on the staff, we'll put it right here. Every good boy, B, goes right there on that middle line. Okay, so how about the next one? It's an A. Is that a line note or space note? Well, let's check. Every good boy does fine. No, there's no A there. How about over here? F-A-C-E. Where was it? Right there on the second space. So let's go back over here and we'll go F-A-C-E. So the A would go right there on that second space. There you go. And the last one was G. Where does G go? Is it on a line or space? Well, let's work through it. Every good boy does fine. It's right there on that second line. So we'll come over here and put our note right there on the second line. So we've taken the word bag and turned it to a melody. B-A-G. I wonder what that sounds like. Well, let's find out. I'll get my bell set here. And I've got the letters B, A, and G. So if I play that, it'll sound just like this. That sounds like a little melody I know. And there's the first part to Mary Had a Little Lamb. And that's how easy it is to create a melody. Let's do another word. Can you think of another word that we can spell using only the musical alphabet letters? I'll give you a moment to think about that. How about fed? Have you fed your dog today? Well, let's try that one. Fed is spelled F-E-D. So let's see if we can find those letters on the staff. F. Every good boy does fine. There's an F there. F-A-C-E. So there's two F's. There's a lower one and there's the higher one. So you can pick whichever one you want. So I can put an F down here on the space, or I could put it on the top line. Those are both an F. One's lower and one's higher. Okay, let's do the next one. E. Where's the E? Well, let's find out. Every, there it is, right there on the bottom line. Every good boy does fine. So there's an E. And for face, F-A-C-E, there's also an E up there. So let's put it in both places. And E can go right down here on the bottom line or that top space. So there's E. And the last one is D. Is it on a space or a line? Can you figure it out? It's on a line. Every good boy does. So it's going to be the fourth line up. We'll come right over here and draw our D right there. F-E-D. So let's see what that sounds like. So on our bell set, we've got a lower F down here and we've got a higher F. We've also got a lower E and a higher E. Okay, so we could go D, like that. Or we could go either one. And we could take those melodies and keep playing them back and forth. Or we could do B, A, G, then F, E, D, like this. Ooh, that's pretty. Let's do that again. B, A, G. See that? And that's how easy it is to make our own melodies. You can take musical alphabet letters, mix them up in different ways, and then find where they go on the staff. And you're already making a melody. And one other thing I'd like to show you before we leave today is something called the treble clef. And it's this fancy symbol right here. I also have it up here written so you can see. And the treble clef we always see at the beginning of a staff. It shows us where the music begins. Kind of like when you're writing a story and sometimes you indent that first paragraph to let you know this is the beginning of the paragraph, this is where the story starts, and you capitalize. Well, at the beginning of music, we draw that treble clef right there, and it shows us where the music starts. So, there's your lesson today on melody. Hope you had fun. See you next time.